Hello, everyone. Welcome to Saque Inicial RD, your main source of football here from the Dominican Republic, talking about football here in our country and from other regions in the world, and mostly from Concacaf. And, well, first set of matches are in the history books for this World Cup qualifying process in the area in CONCACAF. Really chaotic in each one of the three groups. Like the message here is anything can happen. That no one knows what's gonna happen. It's unpredictable, and we saw it across the first two set of matches played in these qualifiers, and especially in Group B in the Caribbean, where we've seen Jamaica. They've been strong. They've been holding their own on on both matches, but we've also seen a good development in the case of Bermuda, which is the topic of today's video. Starting, they started at home losing to Jamaica, but we had a very good reaction on their second match versus Curacao, where they came down from being down 2-0, and despite the loss, the praise is that they fought hard until the end. But to discuss all of that, I'm not alone. We have from Bermuda, Earl Baston. How are you doing, Earl?
I'm good. Thank you very much for having me again.
First of all, Earl, what is your take on both of these matches, starting from the debut in against Jamaica, and from what you saw versus Curacao, that reaction from the Gombay Warriors?
Initially on the Friday night, talk about the Friday night first. I just think that the players were a bit overwhelmed. You know, being in that position for the very first time, playing a powerhouse such as Jamaica, and it's different atmospheres. It's different. It was a different scenario for them on the night, and I just think that the atmosphere got the better of them in their performance. But you clearly should last night that where they bounced back and fought right to the end, down 2-0 in the first half after 26 minutes. Curacao looked like they were running away with it, but you know cheers to the boys because they turned it around and were 2-2 at the half. And unfortunately gave up that goal in the second half to lose 3-2. But they showed that fighting spirit that I think had they played Jamaica probably second at home, I think we'd have seen a better Bermuda performance than we did in the first match.
Your thoughts? What do you thought the change from the performance from what we saw on Friday from what we saw last night? What was the motivation given by the coach Michael Findlay to change the mentality ahead of that visit in Willemstad?
I just think one of the most important things is that a lot of the players would have looked at themselves and realized that they didn't play up to their potential on Friday night, and they would have wanted to make amends to themselves first, and then to Bermuda, And I think that's Finley didn't have to say much, but because if you play bad, you play bad, and you don't need nobody to tell you play bad, and you want to change that the next time you get that opportunity to do so. And I think that each and every player that stepped on the field last night wanted to make amends for what happened on Friday night.
And also, I wanted to comment a little bit more about that comeback in the first half in Curacao. The first two goals in the history of Bermuda in this stage of a World Cup qualifier from Kane Critchlow and Jared Parfait. Uh, it's going to be in the history books for Bermuda football. What did you feel at that moment when the boys reacted before halftime? What did you think about that?
Yeah, I felt when they went down to the nil, you started to see some. positive play. They got a little more direct, and when that first goal went in, you saw a different attitude in the players, even in tackles. They were winning goals. They started to believe in themselves. When that second goal went in, when Jair got that pass from Reggie Lamb and just ran, the half length of the field and scored. Um, I think that made them believe that they belong at this level, because they probably doubted themselves. They were what, some 116 minutes into this first leg of two games, and they were down 6-0, four against Jamaica and two against. So, and then to pull it back to two scoring two goals in the time frame that they did, and to go off the field at halftime, they would have felt like, hey, listen, we belong here. We earned the right to be here. So now let's play like you know. And I think it stunned Curacao just a bit, and it sent them back to the drawing board, because they looked like we did after 10, 15 minutes of the first half. When they went into the change room at halftime, they looked bewildered.
And what did you think that still needs to be improved ahead of the second set of matches in for October? First at home versus Trinidad and Tobago, and then a visit to Jamaica.
I just think, well, the one thing that the team needs is time together. A week before a match of that magnitude, for a smaller country, it's kind of tough. I just think the players need more time together, but the reality is you're not going to get that. So somehow, some way, I think communication amongst each other, just staying in touch with one another, for the next 4 weeks before that second training camp starts, and then we host Trinidad. I think that's the most important thing that can happen for the team in the short space in time.
That's interesting. And to wrap things up, Earl, a final message to the public there in Bermuda after these two matches and what's coming up next.
I really believe, I truly believe that they have something in store for Trinidad at home, and then with that positive out of that, I think they go to Jamaica feeling good about themselves, and I think you'll see a far better performance than what you saw against Jamaica the first time in Bermuda. You'll see a better performance against Jamaica in Jamaica when we play in October.
That's excellent. We hope to see that in the following set of matches. And I want to thank you, Earl, once again for being here with us, sharing all this information about football in Bermuda.
Thank you very much for having me.
And everyone here that's watching, remember the same: like, subscribe, share, so more people get to see this content. And remember, this is Saque Inicial, donde todo comienza.